Did Chad know? Does Chad know where it is? Oh, I don't know. Does Chad know or is he not?
Be fun for Nubs to show them.
Oh, there's Chad. There's Jacqueline.
They both are. They both went to the high school.
Do I have to?
That helped out. No. Otherwise, I would have spot too. Yeah, that's it. But then I was like, it was dark in here when I got here, don't you?
You don't tell me. I checked all these. I checked all these before. Should I do shot? Yeah, well, I don't know how for how long. I went to the wrong spot.
Yeah, I'm looking at that. I like it.
It's okay. I thought I would have too. I would have too. And then Maria asked me, and then I was like,
You say something that's got allotted off and
Yes. Yeah, I looked as soon as like the auditorium doors went open, I'm like.
it's just habit, right?
So then I went to the agenda and I checked, and I was like, oh.
Because like on my
they
calendar,
said in the county
it'll show,
first
like
one.
it'll show me my
Well, you
reminder
guys
that I
don't
have.
care, you guys want the money.
Put it all. Or just
How are your friends?
Well, how about yourself?
Just great. It's sunny out.
That's beautiful.
All right, welcome everyone. I'd like to call to order tonight's regular Board of Education meeting for Tuesday, April 19th, 2022, 5:30 p.m. here in the MAPS Central Administrative Building Boardroom. If we could have a roll call, please, Tammy.
Maria Volpe. Here. Brett Wallace.
Here.
Linda Yingling.
Here.
Nubs Ashbeck.
Here.
Chad Krieger.
Here.
Ron Liberty.
Here.
Kendra Osnes.
Here.
Jacqueline Grumler.
Here.
Kevin Blake.
Here. Please stand as you're able, face the flag, and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I turned it on and then all of a sudden it was off. So I'll watch it.
Good evening and welcome to the Merrill Area Public Schools Board of Education meeting. MAPS respects the role our elected board members serve and the function of our board meetings. Board members and administrators are committed to working collaboratively to provide our students a safe learning environment and the highest levels of achievement. This meeting is a formal event and professional conduct is the expectation for all in attendance. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sample. First on our agenda is time that we allocate as a board for public comment. I did not have any sheets turned into me. Tammy, did you have any? All right, if we do not have any, we will start with recognition then. Beginning of recognition tonight, we would like to recognize Kiana Yankee and Amber Winter, who each received a 2022 Wisconsin National Center for Women and Information Technology Award for Aspirations in Computing. There was a press release that was shared by Olivia Daco. So if Olivia will come up, but Kiana and Amber are here as well. Let's come over to this side. How are you tonight? You're gonna make her speak.
Thank you.
We do that again, please.
Share a little something on what Kiana and Amber did too.
A little something, okay. Well, NCWIT is an organization nationally that is intended to recognize young women who are skilled and gifted, whether it's genetic, form, or it's natural, or it's something that they're just interested in. And because of the work that I've seen so uncomfortable, I'm sorry. So, because the great work I've seen Amber do in class, again, the problem solving, the critical thinking, the computational skills, clearly she is on track for whether it is medicine or math or engineering, anything involving computer science, she's going to be successful. So this award recognizes her potential, and hopefully she'll go into something that will use computer science in her future. Thank you.
Awesome. Next, I would like to, the board would like to recognize our Raise Your Voice members for advocating for mental health and being leaders in our school and community. Before they do their presentation, I'd like to get them their certificates of appreciation or recognition from the board. The 2021-2022 officers, Jesselyn Clark, Jackson DeYoung, Monica Lane, Laney Zielsdorf, Maya Wilde, as well as their advisors, Adam Yurkowski, Katie Holz, Debbie Mollendorf, and Allie Libby. They are truly champions of change for not only our district, but our community. Thank you all. Please step up.
Thank you. Nobody puts baby in the corner.
They're waiting for one more person. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you came in real nicely.
Good job on the play, by the way.
Slide in this way, center over our lovely Fab Lab made banners.
Might want to get in the picture. Now get in the picture.
All right. So thank you all. I'd like to turn it over to Ellie or whoever's going to lead in with your presentation. Thanks again.
You forgot some. Thank you.
On an island.
So I'll just quickly introduce, I'm Allie Libby, I'm one of the school counselors, and then Katie, Adam, and Debbie were back here too. And we have one missing officer, but we presented last spring to you, kind of about the Raise Your Voice Club, and we have new officers, and I know one of the questions was, how will we ever recruit wonderful officers to replace our old ones? And successfully, we have wonderful new officers, so they will talk about the Raise Your Voice Club this school year, because I definitely think it's a highlight of, what we, one of the programs that we offer at MAPS. We want to be able to share some information. And a shameless plug for the Raise Your Voice Walk is coming up on Sunday, May 1st. If you haven't signed it up, I think Linda, or Maria, you have, right? You already signed up. Yep, signed up for it. There's information, and so there's a flyer with some information about our club, and then also a flyer about our walk too, so.
So first, I want to say thank you for having me speak with you tonight. As we talk about our Raise Your Voice Club. The officers this year are Jesselyn, Clark, Jackson, myself, Monica, and Maya, and Lane, who's not here. And our advisors, Miss Libby, and Mr. Yurkowski, Ms. Holz, and Debbie Mollendorf. Last year, the officers of Raise Your Voice Club came and spoke to you about what happened and what was accomplished, including our mental health walk. They told us how warm and open you were to what we were accomplishing, and we are so very appreciative of having the same opportunity. Not everyone may be aware of what Raise Your Voice Club does, so first we would like to take an opportunity to explain our club. The Raise Your Voice Club is a statewide club that was created by the National Alliance for Mental Illness of Wisconsin. The goals of the group are to raise awareness and encourage discussion around mental health. Since our creation in 2020, we have had an overwhelming response both within the school and the community. In fact, the National Alliance for Mental Health of Wisconsin has contacted our advisors multiple times with questions of how to start their own organizations, as we are known for having the best student-run Raise Your Voice Club in the state. It is exciting to be a part of a club that is breaking ground when it comes to youth development and mental health. Some of the ways that we accomplish our goals for advocating for mental health is through monthly meetings where we educate our members of new mental health topics, providing resources and information pertaining to mental health to the student body and staff, training our members on suicide prevention, and doing school-wide initiatives to support our cause. Raise Your Voice is not a therapy group or a support group or a place to get diagnosed or labeled. So some of the reasons that we find this club to be so important and valuable is based on data. Some statistics are up on the board, but a couple that are specific to Merrill High School are 33% of Merrill High School students felt so sad or hopeless almost every day for 2 weeks or more in a row, and 44% of students indicate they would talk to a friend when they feel sad, angry, empty, hopeless, or anxious. This shows us that mental health is real and important to our peers. It also shows that the most important people to respond to students who are struggling is our students at MHS. Since students go to their peers more often than anyone else, it is important to train them how to respond appropriately and connect them to the right resources, including our staff.
All right, so last year when the officer spoke to you, it was right before our mental health walk, and it is also right before our mental health walk is coming up in a couple weeks. But we just wanted to recap all the great things that last year's mental health walk turned out to be. So our initial hope was that about 50 people would come. It was small, we didn't want to get our hopes up too high. All in all, around 250 community members actually came to the walk, and we raised $6,200 for Tyler's Playground on the Riverbend Trail and Nami Northwoods. We had about 36 silent auction items and a lot of monetary donations, which made that all possible. So we're going to share some pictures with you. And so some of the things we did for a while, because we really wanted a visual presence in the community. So as you can see, we painted a bunch of windows downtown on First Street and around there, which was along our walk route. Our middle schoolers used chalk and drew slogans and drew pictures for mental health. That was on our walk route on the Riverbend Trail. And then we also painted the J Rock on the corner of the J Stadium with an End the Stigma message. So with all this support, we got $6,200 raised, I said, and that's split between Tyler's Playground, which is a playground on the Riverbend Trail that is in memory of Tyler Holbach. And its goal is to give information to the community and be a place for mental health awareness, for drug addiction awareness, for suicide prevention, for grief, and that kind of stuff. And then the other half went to NAMI Northwoods, which, as Monica mentioned, is part of the larger organization NAMI, which is the founder of Raise Your Voice clubs here and then everywhere in the country.
All right, so once our officers left last year, it was a really big role to fill. Our officers last year were great, and in July we had a retreat with our old officers and all these wonderful people you see right here. And we learned about all the things that they did in the club, about their role. We learned and planned for new things for this year's Raise Your Voice, and we did a number of activities based around mental health to help also train us more on the topic. We had a booth at the club fair that we did this year. I'm sure you guys are aware of that. We did a club fair this year. We handed out wristbands, and that said, "It's cool to be kind," which is our slogan this year. We also put a booth to get the promotion out at our football games and homecoming games. We are working with Tyler's Playground, like Jackson described. We are working on a pantry that has resources and basic needs that are available to everyone so that everybody in the community has access to them. We are working on training we already did train our new members, sorry. We trained them on QPR, which is suicide prevention and how to discuss mental health. After training, all students who attended received a bandana, which is on your backpack. I don't think we have one here. I do not have one.
Oh, who's doing this, Libby? Booyah!
Yay! So everybody got a bandana and a bag tag to put on their backpack, and that basically just means that you are approachable to help with mental health and suicide prevention. Like I said, it's not or like Monica said, it is not a therapy group, but we can help get students the resources that they need. We're working. No, we already did Kindness Week. We had Kindness Week, so we did some lunchroom activities. We wrote kindness messages to kids and students in our school, so we handed them out in their advisories. Kids could write letters to other people, and then if we caught kids being kind, members of our club handed out cookie tickets to kids that were being kind to get one of Nancy's cookies, because we all know they're great.
Yes.
Posters and videos were placed around the school encouraging kindness, and we held a handful of monthly meetings. So, yeah. Here are some pictures from our club. That one in the bottom right corner is our display case. We have a number of coordinator positions, thank you. And one of them is our display case, so they often will put happy messages in there, quotes, anything to get kindness out there. The top right is a picture of one of our meetings, and then that middle picture on the top there you see is a picture from our retreat in the summer that we did with our old officers. The bottom right is putting happy sticky notes on cards during Kindness Week.
All right, so we talked a lot about our walk last year, but let's get going with this year's walk. It's going to be bigger and it's going to be better. So basically, we decided to move the walk to the Mark because we were worried about rain. We don't want to have to worry about weather. So if we have access to the Smith Center, that's really good for us and all the people who will plan on attending. Registration will start at 11:30, and the walk itself will start at 1. We're going to have 2 routes, a 1 mile and a 2 mile. And we're also going to have various activities and other things going on, such as face painting, yard games. You know we like some cornholes, some bags, and maybe some, what's it called? Ladder golf. So we're going to have a lot going on there. We're also going to have a food truck, and this food truck, get this, 100% of the profits that they are making are going to our cause, which is amazing. We're also going to have live music from our very own Bryce Tomaszewski, last year's officer, which is awesome to see that coming back. And on top of that, I think that was it, but we would really like to see every single person from the Board of Education come to this walk and support our cause. And if you are unable to, please put it out there. Tell your family, tell your friends through social media or other outlets that you can find. So we have trained over 150 people in our Raise Your Voice Club. That is 150 students and peers who want to be a part of our cause, who want to learn about suicide prevention and want to support mental health, which I think is incredible. That's a great number, and it's just growing. And out of these people, 88% have reported that after our trainings, they feel comfortable, they feel ready to be prepared for a situation where someone is telling them that they're suicidal. That is compared to 29% prior to this training. That is an insane increase. That shows how effective Raise Your Voice is. And not only does Raise Your Voice help people support their peers in their community, it helps them with their own inner problem, their own inner mental health. So 58%, which is a majority, have reported that they feel like the information they've learned in Raise Your Voice helps them with their own mental health, which I think is astounding. In Raise Your Voice, I personally have had an experience where I have had a peer, a friend, a close friend, come to me saying that they are having suicidal thoughts. They are feeling depressed, they are feeling hopeless. And I didn't know what to do. I was unsure. But after Raise Your Voice and after having the trainings and reaching out to people, reaching out to Ms. Libby, she helped me so much, helped my friend. And now my friend is no longer suicidal and she has the resources and the things and the support she needs. And I think that's the most important thing about Raise Your Voice. And also, shout out to Debbie for being the best person ever. I don't know what we would do without her, and we're going to miss her so much.
Seriously, everybody needs a Debbie.
We always say everybody needs a Debbie, and I think she deserves a good shout out.
quote of the year.
Yeah, everybody needs a Debbie.
All right, I think that's a wrap.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
for your time.
question, like for instance, the Lions Club, which I'm a member of, if we wanted to donate money to you, how would we do it? Do you have an address or?
You have the contact information for Mrs. Libby and Debbie on there, and if you email them, or they might have their phone numbers on there too, you can call them or email them, and they'll help you with all that stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Quick question, sorry. You guys are like, thank you.
You
can't leave, you guys stay. You know, does the group need funding? Because I saw like the wristbands. How do you fund that kind of thing? Because you're funding Tyler's Playground, and the rest of the money is going to NAMI.
NAMI supports us.
So we get like grants and funding through NAMI that allow us to do all these things for our club members.
It's actually Ascension. Debbie, Debbie the all-star is the one that knows, so she can talk to, because we don't have to do any fundraising for the Raise Your Voice Club specifically because of the money that Debbie has found. The money that we raise goes out to outside organizations. Yes.
Oh, okay, all right, so you don't need additional funding or anything like that, right? Well, everybody could use additional funding, but.
That is fortunate that the Healthy Minds Coalition receives funding from primarily Aspirations, and then Aspirations wants to support the club, and so they want the young people to be able to focus on doing the activities versus having to focus on fundraising.
Awesome.
So they have that support.
That's good information, thank you. All right, good deal.
Yes. I have a question. So first off, amazing. I think this is an amazing cause. We've all probably been affected by somebody in our life that has dealt with this. So kudos to you guys. Have we ever thought about, like, it's obviously in the high school, is it something that would ever trickle down into the other schools?
Absolutely.
We have actually talked about it quite a bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this year it was hard with COVID and being busy still, but we do talk about wanting to like start something in the middle school. Maybe not like a formal Raise Your Voice club where like the students are leading, but we wanted to like go to the middle school and in their health classes or in their like morning meetings or something and talk to them about mental health and topics in mental health that are age appropriate for them. So like, obviously 5th graders, some of this stuff is a little above their heads and a little much for them, but we want to talk about like being a good friend and how to be how to be like empathetic to your friends and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's huge. And I have a 5th grader, and I think that they actually could use it, to be honest with you. So, I mean, it's a great program. So I would encourage you to continue on.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Yes, thank you.
Linda, go ahead.
Just to kind of piggyback off of Kendra there, I think, a small little group of 8th graders would do a great job to start there and spread that down into the middle school as well. So, maybe somebody at the middle school like Mr. Martinovich or a guidance counselor or I'm excited. Where the guidance counselors can get like a little group of 8th graders together to start that work there too, because I'm pretty sure it's needed there also. Thank you guys, and awesome job. Awesome to all of you. Thank you.
Congratulations again, and thank you for all your hard work. Next part of our agenda is that bittersweet time where we're recognizing outgoing board member and welcoming a new. I'd like to recognize Norbert or Nubs Ashbeck for his service to our school district. Present him with a plaque as well as a certificate from our friends at WASB. So if you join me for a picture.
I gotta have a picture. You've already got my mug shot from 9 years ago.
Well, you do need to. I did think we should start this and maybe do this in a roast fashion and all go around, but I didn't want to give you time at the end for payback. So we're just going to congratulate you and thank you for everything. Okay?
All right. Most important one in the middle.
Thank you, Nubs. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah.
You got the floor.
Speech.
All right. Well, just a couple of things. One is, now I'm in a good position. I can come as a public speaker. For 3 minutes, I can chew you out. And you can't retaliate.
After the meeting.
Anyway, Hey, I just want to say thanks. You know, you've been a great group of people to work with. I want to thank the board, the administration, the teachers. It's been 9 great years.
Oh,
Okay.
Yay!
Thanks again, Nubs. Your service has definitely been appreciated, 9 years in the district. With that, we will welcome on.
Kevin, I gotta say one.
Oh, go.
Oh, sorry. The one thing I will miss is Maria saying we should have listened to Nubs.
We should have added that right on the placard certificate. You weren't thinking we could have had that done.
Turns out Nubs was right.
I don't know that we ever got a second to that. No, just kidding. Absolutely. Many great ideas, Nubs, some we even followed. No, but seriously, thank you again, Nubs, for the 9 years of service to our district. And on April 25th, we will be welcoming the new board member, Paul Prue. So we look forward to that next week. At this time on our agenda, we will turn it over to our student board representative for his report. I see Isaiah's here. I don't see Amelia tonight, so you've got the floor yourself.
Amelia's got a soccer game, so I'm going to have to fly some soda.
There you go.
Alright, so prom was a huge success this year once again. Many Merrill High School students came and had a night of fun at the dance. It was a great opportunity for students to have fun with friends outside of school and in a formal atmosphere. The musical has wrapped up and it was a very exciting show week. Ticket sales surpassed 1,000 over the 4 shows that Merrill students performed. Many students, teachers, and community members alike enjoyed the show and are looking forward to the production next year. Spring sports are now in full swing and practices and games are now underway. All the athletes are excited for the opportunity to compete again this year. ACT and ACT Aspire testing is now completed. These tests, although they were kind of long, were a great opportunity for students to test their knowledge. Next week is Teacher Appreciation Week. Many clubs have taken it upon themselves to make this week extra special for those that teach us every day. You can expect special deliveries and presents from many teachers throughout the days in an effort for students to show their gratitude. The Nhs Induction is coming up in the next couple of weeks. The Induction Ceremony into the National Honor Society welcomes a new group of juniors and seniors who have shown excellence in character and also academics. And this is going to occur on the 4th of May. The end of the year banquet for FFA, or Future Graduate Lifetime, is coming up on May 11th. This is a great way for the club to commemorate and honor its members for all that they've done in the past year. Graduation is only a little more than a month away, and caps and gowns have now come in. All the graduation items that seniors have ordered will arrive this upcoming Monday for pickup to your lunch.
Thank you, Isaiah. Any board members have, while we have Isaiah in the hot seat, anything we'd like to ask him about the high school?
Great job in the play.
Yes.
You were in there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw you, so good job.
Yeah.
It's very good.
All right. Thank you for the update. Much appreciated. Next on our agenda, I'll turn it over to Dr. Sample for administrative reports. Just as a reminder, board members have had the opportunity to ask questions, but certainly can have discussion or ask questions on the record this evening as well. So I will turn it over to Dr. Sample.
Thanks, Kevin. Below you will find the administrative reports provided to you last week. Does anybody have any questions or comments leading up to my report? Okay. Superintendent's report, I did highlight some of those tasks and my schedule that had to do with, unfortunately, a lot of budget cuts, and so there was a lot of meetings. I did provide just a very brief narrative. I know that Eddie will go into more detail a little bit later. The good news is that there are no positions identified on the personnel report as reductions and resignations for economic reasons, as the adequate reductions have been made due to attrition. The rest of my report then talks about some of the meeting agendas between the building principal meetings, the alt meetings, and our central office administrator meetings. And then I finished with the weekly bulletins that we provide our staff at the end of each week. Any questions on my report? Okay, thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Dr. Sample. Next on our agenda is the committee reports. Start with the Finance Human Resources Committee. We did attach the draft minutes from the April 6th committee meeting. Brett Waller as chair, and other members of the Finance Human Resources Committee are available for questions from board members. Any board members have questions for the Finance Human Resources Committee this evening?
Is there, I do, well, not really a question, but is there meeting minutes from the meeting that we, that you guys had after the closed session meeting we had last week, which, was it the 11th?
Do we have any?
Was there no meeting minutes from that special meeting? Because you guys went, you guys.
I don't think we.
Okay.
Summary to that is everything that was on the finance HR committee agenda
That's coming
originally.
through.
What that we talked about that night got forwarded on to the
Okay.
board with the
All
recommendations.
right, that's what I was seeing. I just wasn't sure if there was anything else extra. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Brett, for the update. Any other questions for Finance Human Resources Committee? Hearing none, we'll move on to the CTP, or Curriculum Technology Pupil Services Committee. We have the draft minutes attached from the April 13th meeting. Maria Volpe, chair, and other members of the CTP committee are available for questions. Do we have any questions from board members for our CTP committee? All right, hearing none, we would go to the next area on our agenda is unfinished business. We do not have anything categorized as that at this time, so we will go right to the Board of Education business. The first item on there was a placeholder for the approval of federal cost of living allowance or COLA supplement. At this time, we're waiting some more information, and we will work on that on a future agenda and post that accordingly when we get that. So there will be no action on that this evening. Next on our agenda is the math curriculum purchase and budget adjustments for fiscal year 2022. Topic summary sheet from Edward then was provided. Recommended motions from both our Finance Human Resources Committee and our CTP Committee. I would be looking for a motion this evening. Maria?
I move to approve the purchase of the middle school math for grades 5 to 8 as the universal math resource for the next 6 school years in the amount of $131,190 to be paid from the fiscal year 2022 budget.
We have a motion by Maria, a second by Kendra. I would open the floor for discussion at this time on this motion or topic. Any questions or discussion on this motion or topic? Hearing none, we'll bring that to a vote. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed, say nay. Do you have any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously on a voice vote. Next item on our agenda is the Merrill Police Department School Resource Officer Memorandum of Understanding. We have an attached topic summary sheet from Dr. Sample, and we do have a recommended motion from our Finance Human Resources Committee. Do we have a motion this evening? Maria?
I'd move to approve the Merrill Police Department School Resource Officer Memorandum of Understanding for July 1, 2022 through June 30, 2025.
Motion by Maria. Do we
I'll
have a
second.
second? So we have a second by Ron. Any discussion, questions on this topic or motion this evening? questions or discussion? All right, so we will call for a vote. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say nay. Do you have any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously on a voice vote. Next item on our agenda this evening is the 2022-2023 Staff Handbook Review. This is a first read and discussion. The topic summary sheet was provided by Edward Then. Anyone have any discussion that will be, I believe, approved in the May meeting, if I understood that correctly? Did anyone have anything after previewing that they would like to discuss with Dr. Sample or Eddie while we're here? Otherwise, there is no action this evening, but we needed a jump start on anything. Now again is the time. All right. Hearing none, we'll move on to the next item on our agenda. It's a review of the support staff compensation, a recommendation for all compensation plans for the fiscal year 23 budget. There was topic summary sheet and information provided on this topic from Edward Then, as well as recommendation from our Finance Human Resources Committee. Do we have a motion this evening to get things started? Brett?
Recommend a motion to approve recommendations 1 and 2, A through J, as presented for all compensation plans.
We have a motion by Brett. Do we have a second? Second by Maria. Any discussion or questions on the motion or this topic? Chad?
I know we need to do it, and I'm all for the teachers and support staff, but I just think right now is a bad time to be doing it with the failed referendum, that if we could use that money other ways, other places, and for the students. I can't see doing it with the failed referendum right now.
Any other board members have any discussion or information they'd like to provide based on this motion or topic? Linda?
Well, I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I know it stinks with the referendum not passing, but I think this is long overdue. The support staff and, they do a lot of work for the district. They, do a lot of extra things that are not always considered, in their normal job duties. And I know it's coming at a hard time, but, I mean, I have a feeling if we don't do some of this, I'm pretty sure we're going to lose quite a few people. And I don't think we can afford to do that right now either. So, it just stinks at the timing of this, but, I mean, I really do think we need to go ahead and push this through. So that's all thank you.
Thank you, Linda. So Kendra's hand up as well. Kendra, go ahead.
Yeah, and just from the conversations we've had in the finance meeting, this is, and Dr. Sample, please correct me if I state this incorrectly, but this is not going to hinder what cuts were already made. This is considered part of the upcoming year budget.
That's correct.
Right.
The cuts that we've made include the potential approval of this motion.
Okay, thank you.
Additional discussion, questions on the motion or topic by board members? Hearing none, we'll bring this to a vote. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Any abstentions?
I do. I abstain.
All right. Motion carries. Did you get that documented? Thank you, Tammy. Next item on our agenda is the field house and auditorium projector replacement with an attached topic summary sheet from Edward Then. Recommended motion from our Finance Human Resources Committee. Do we have a motion this evening? Brett?
Recommend a motion to purchase 2 laser projectors as presented from Zones for next year from the fiscal year 2022 budget allocation.
A motion by Brett and a second by Kendra. Any discussion, questions on this motion or this topic this evening?
Can I have one?
Brett, go ahead.
Eddie, so when we're saying for
Eddie, can
next
you
year.
step up to the microphone, please?
But pulling it out of fiscal year 2022, we're kind of, we're gonna get dinged a little bit on it in an audit, but it's not we can still throw it through in this year and be fine, correct?
The motion on the top summary sheet is FY '23. If you guys motion to be FY '22 and it doesn't get here, then yes. If you motion it for 20.
Are you talking about computers or the projectors?
Projectors.
Projectors, right?
Yeah, it says.
Because the motion says 2022.
No, I'm on the PDF, I'm on the bottom
Yeah,
of the PDF.
on your topic summary sheet, it's 23.
And here it is, on the motion on the back.
Yeah, it's on the 23.
This will be for next year.
Yeah, but right here.
Like a friendly amendment to 2023, fiscal year 2023 budget.
Kendra, are you willing to second that friendly amendment?
Yes.
Thank you. Any additional questions or discussion on that?
I got one.
Go ahead, Chip.
Weren't we, because I sat through your meeting, I thought you were gonna try doing both of them for this year. And then, if they didn't come, then they would have to get pulled off, trying to use some of that money from this year.
But both.
That and,
Oh,
he jumped to the computers too. But
Okay.
I thought that was kind of what you guys talked about, trying to get it on this year's, and
but I think
hopefully they
this
come.
one-
I've been pretty assured by the vendor that it's not gonna be here, like, not even close. I don't mean like July 10th or something like that. I mean, like, we're talking September. So, yeah, the auditors will be long gone and the books will be closed because they'll have to submit the first audit certification report, I think, before they even get here. So there'll be physically no way for us to go back and books on it. If that happens at that point, because the deal process.
And then I guess I got a question, is that the projectors, can that be put off for another year then? Is that something that has to be done?
The one that's in the field house, to my understanding, does not work. It's not functioning very well. Yeah, you can't see basically the definition of the light bulb that's in there, because it's an old style light bulb, and ones are laser, but basically, yeah, you can't see without shutting down all the lights and everything, what's going on. Even then, it's not, from what I understand from Andrew, it's not that great. And the other one's doing the same thing in the LGI, so we're trying to, quote unquote, get more mileage out of the one in the auditorium by moving to the LGI, and then making sure that those high-use places, or those places that are mission critical, when you build a place for graduation, where you got your fall play, spring musical, kids concerts, like, they just have to work. You can't have a no-go on those days, because there's too many people there that are relying on that equipment. But
Anything else on that, Chad, or did that?
Nope.
Okay. We've had Kendra next.
And Eddie kind of covered it, and not, I feel like we always call it Mr. Murray every time we have a meeting. But I feel like we had this discussion in the first finance meeting, that these are used on a daily basis, they're quite frequently utilized, that it's to the benefit of the students, to make sure that we improve them.
Yeah, so these two particular ones are not used like daily by the search, but they're used for very high profile.
Okay.
Creates speakers forums or seminars, field house, in the auditorium it's for meetings, so they're pretty high profile.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah.
And regardless, this was budgeted in
there's, the budgets next year, we'll be able to take them on, they're $14,000, $14,000 or $15,000. Yeah.
And I think.
We left some, there is some money in the tax budget, not there's no money in there. There is some money, we've got, I think we figured out, the typical spend to quote unquote, like, operate is around a little over 300, or right around 300,000. And there's still, I think, from next year's, we cut over 600, but there's still about 6 in it total. So we should be good.
And in fact, most items that we went through were already included, right, in the budget, just to clarify that. So if it's fiscal year 2023, you guys took that into consideration, just to like reiterate that point. Okay.
Thank you. Is there other questions or discussion on this motion or topic? Hearing none, we will call for a vote on that motion. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda this evening is the bus camera installation. The attached topic summary sheet was created by Dale Bergman. The recommended motion from our Finance Human Resources Committee. Do we have a motion this evening? Brett?
I recommend the approval of the bus camera installation systems as presented.
Motion by Brett. Do we have a second?
Oh, second.
Second by Linda. Any questions or discussion on this motion or topic this evening? Go ahead, Maria.
Some thoughts since we had the HR finance meeting to address this. I know I was in favor of this because I think it's a good idea to have cameras for the safety of the students. Dale is not here. Is he? No. Okay. One of the things that Dale Bergman had brought up at the HR finance meeting was the issue of liability if the students were acting up on the bus. And I guess I've had more time to think about that. That's really not the district's liability, in my opinion. That would be the bus company's liability. And I know I asked for the contract language in this, and I have further questions just with regard to this language. A one-time fee of $1,600 per bus will be the responsibility of the district at their discretion. I don't know what that means, at their discretion. So I guess I would just like more information on this before we commit to doing this at this point in time, because it looks to me then that the bus company takes ownership of the cameras after we buy them. So I guess I just want more clarification before I would be in favor of this at this moment.
I thought that it was clarified, and correct me if I'm wrong, anybody that was there, that would be our property on those buses, so that property we would retain. And as far as liability goes, perhaps, but I can tell you that we're responsible, each building, our district is responsible for students and student discipline from the moment they leave home until they get home. So while they're on a contracted bus service, we're responsible, and usually we follow through with any discipline, whether it's coming to school on a bus or leaving on a bus.
Yeah, and I guess I should clarify. I think Dale had brought up at that point in time, and maybe somebody said this to me afterwards, so I don't want to put words in his mouth, that there were also perhaps issues with the drivers. And I guess I'm speaking to that. We don't employ the drivers.
Oh, correct. Yes, I see what you're saying.
So,
I think the like drivers, other motorists going through when the bus is stopped with the stop sign thing out with the lights.
That piece as well.
Okay.
But I thought he had talked about, and I could be wrong, I thought he had talked, because we talked about a lot that night.
This is true.
He had talked about there were perhaps complaints about some of the drivers, and again, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I thought that was part of it. And then I want to go back to, and I know we've signed this contract, the next language in that paragraph is future maintenance and upkeep will be the contractor's responsibility, meaning the bus company's responsibility. So then my question becomes, okay, we buy them, we put them in the buses. If we still own them, why is somebody else maintaining and upkeeping them? That doesn't make sense to me. So
Right.
I guess I'm just trying to work through this.
Yeah, and the best answer I would have, unless Eddie's got something to add, is that that is a part of their bus. And so while we're not on their buses every day like they are, it would be just like anything else that's on that bus that they would maintain and upkeep. But the property still would belong to us at the end of, if there was anything that we contracted with somebody else or whatever, that would still be our property.
But you get what I mean.
Yes,
You're
I
not
do.
gonna give somebody something and say, here, you go ahead and maintain my property. What if they don't take care of it? You know what I'm saying? I'm not accusing the bus company of not taking care of it.
Sure.
I'm just saying, common sense and logically, I'm just trying to work through it because it didn't make sense to me, but.
I got you.
So one of the things that was brought up was like an issue between driver and student. You know, regardless of contract or not, we could be in a Title IX situation as well with regards to a student who makes an allegation against a bus driver. It's our student, and it has to do with their ability to access the education program. So undoubtedly, it would be incredibly useful to be able to have a camera to say, yes, that happened, no, that didn't, especially in situations where you have one adult and a bunch of students. Not that I don't trust one or the other, but I don't have to worry about who to trust when it's in the footage. Or Dale, or Dr. Sample, or whoever's doing the investigation of what happened. So I think there's a huge benefit in having them. And I've not read the contract, but I wouldn't worry about not owning technology, because after 5 years, it's probably getting close to the end of its useful life after all the vibrating going down the road, the salt and everything else. If it's on one of the outside arms, it's moving, and on the inside, if it hasn't already broken or been broken in some fashion, I doubt it's of that much value anyways. In all honesty, we'll probably say, yeah, let the technology go with the bus after the time it comes to sell it, because it's more work and money to pay someone to take it off than it is to let it go on the road. But anyways.
And then the stop arm part was it's distracting our drivers to be able to try to get descriptions, license plates, all
Totally
of that.
understand
Okay.
that piece, totally understand it, thank you.
Okay, I have Jacqueline followed by Kendra, if you were done, Maria.
Yes, thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Jacqueline, go ahead.
Yeah, I was with you, Maria, when I read through it and the pieces in the contract and whatnot, and I was a bit confused. My thought on that too was, who funds the initial installation? And then who funds maintenance updates, any of oversight, things like that. But I did a little research online, and I also just called a couple bus companies and just asked them, like, what are your thoughts? What do you guys do? How does this work? What are the liabilities? And it seems to be really standard, right? That school districts either split the cost between the busing and the district in the initial installation, or I heard that the district is funding the installation, but the maintenance piece is entirely by the busing system. And there's different types of equipment or things you can get. Some are like SD card type things, others you can do Wi-Fi to have all of this footage uploaded to your administrators for their review and things like that. So it seems like reasonable, like what is being presented for us seems to be the norm across the state, but I don't know. Some places did talk about like additional funding and things like that you can reach out for through, I don't remember, I wrote it down somewhere, but like you can apply for grants for funding for this kind of equipment on the buses, because it does cover both the busing system and also that. And I think the funding was more through the transportation system than it was the district.
Okay.
So it'd be up to whoever we're contracting with for them to look for the additional grant funding that maybe would cover their half, or that maintenance piece that we're talking about.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Anything else? Appreciate your research and update on that. Kendra?
I was just gonna fun fact it. So when something's physically installed into an automobile, which would be the case, it becomes part of that vehicle. So if there wasn't damage to it or insurance to it, their insurance policy would need to cover that versus our insurance. So that would be why it makes sense to me that they're taking on the maintenance of it, because it becomes part of the physical bus, that's all. Okay.
Did something happen that this came up kind of fast? Because it skipped the buildings policy. I mean, I asked about it and he Dale kind of just thought he needed to, almost made it sound like he was in a hurry. So I was wondering, was there an incident on a bus or that it came up?
I guess I can't speak to specific. The only thing that we talked about is that was the lone item to call a special facilities committee meeting. So instead of doing that, we added it accordingly to the other meeting, which was already being convened. So if there would have been multiple items, we would have called a facilities committee. But you're right, that would normally be on the facilities.
Yeah, so I was just wondering if there was a reason it came up, or it seems odd that it comes up at the end of the year instead of the beginning of the year.
Not one specific incident. I would say that student behaviors, I think a lot of people can agree, have been on the increase here last year or two. I don't know if it's with COVID or there's probably a number of factors, but our student behaviors are extremely high right now.
From some of the transportation sites, they said that as soon as the cameras were installed, they did see like more order and behavioral issues just with the implementation. Not like all students seem to respond favorably. So maybe we could start put fake ones in there.
And that's been
Let's
done
see if that
before.
works. You know what I mean? And then we'll bite the bullet and get the big guns if we really need to. I'm totally teasing.
We had the placebo effect used to work. It really did. But unfortunately with social media and everything, students will see which ones are real and which ones are not. And all it takes is getting caught once. So that's a great idea, and it's a money saver.
Thank you, Jack and Linda.
Yeah, I guess, the inside of the bus, yeah, they're gonna help out a lot, but, however, there are a lot of people that don't stop for the school buses. And when you're out on Highway W and people are going 55, 60 miles an hour, and you got kids crossing the road, that right there is very scary, very scary. And if I'm understanding them correctly, those cameras will also get attached to the front of the bus. So we'll be able to catch those people's the license plate. And, hopefully maybe they'll get one heck of a ticket and they'll think twice before doing that, because, my mom has a daycare and some of them are 4 or 5-year-old kids getting on the bus in the morning or getting off in the afternoon. And there's been a few times where a car doesn't even stop. And thank goodness, the bus driver doesn't open the doors. But yeah, I think, it's very important to at least have that part of them anyways. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Any additional discussion or questions on this motion or topic? Hearing none, let's bring that to a vote. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Do we have any abstentions? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda is the HP laptop renewal with an attached topic summary sheet from Edward Then. Recommended motion from our Finance Human Resources Committee. Do we have a motion this evening? Brett?
Recommend the approval of 500 HP laptops with a 4-year warranty as presented from Paragon Development Systems through HP Financial Services for 4 payments of approximately $101,010 beginning in fiscal year '23.
We have a motion by Brett. Do we have a second? Second by Nubbs. Thanks, Ron, for also being available and willing. We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion or questions on this particular topic or motion by board members? Just a quick history lesson. 4 years ago, we did have and approval for 700. We are between declining enrollment and other utilizations have gone down to that number as motioned or moved this evening for 500. So they did put the bids out accordingly. And that's where we're at. And based on delivery, again, was the recommendation for the financing option as motioned. Any clarifying questions or discussion on that motion or topic? Go ahead, Kendra.
Thank you for getting the financing information. Did we find out if you can pay off early without penalty?
You can, if you look at the, I think it's the third page in that attachment, he went and was kind enough to outline like the interest per year as it accumulates. So I think, for example, like total interest on the 4-year option, that is basically like a lease to own concept. You're looking at about 23,000 and some change in interest. So like if you pay it off early, you just start deducting those amounts to basically know the savings that you'd be getting otherwise. But yeah, they said that they would allow that. So in reality, I think you're probably around 6% in terms of interest rate, and you're looking at a cost of about $6,000 a year, and not have to put up $380,000 up front. Interest sucks, but for lack of a better word, but at the same time, it is what it is. And that's not too bad of a cost given the volume of what you're trying to achieve. So.
Yeah, so it was 338, and so it's like a $42,000 increase plus the interest on top of that. Is that right?
Yeah, because you got a warranty in there that they're charging separate. The devices themselves were like 338. I think it was 380,000
total with all of the stuff.
Yeah,
okay.
Everything, and they show a discount in there that they were able to get passed along to us. So.
Okay. No, it's not. I was just curious. I was just trying to figure out the difference. Oh, here, yeah, okay.
And you guys have not worked with that company before, new vendor for you, and do a nice job.
Anything else, Kendra?
Nope, I'm good, thank you.
Brett, did you have something to add?
So we had this in, we originally were gonna try and do it out of 22 budget. So this doesn't change anything with your projections on 23, but it frees up 280,000 in 22, approximately.
Yes. Well, it's not gonna touch 22 at all, because they won't let you make the payment for the product.
Right, but if you, I mean, we were budgeting to spend 380 if we could have got it done. I guess, I should rephrase this, I'll back up. Does this free up 280,000 roughly somewhere at all, or not? No.
I think the answer is yes. When I say I think, the catch is the model. I have to double check. When you guys look at the monthly update from Firecast, like I said, like about 1.6 million right now. I don't know if that is including, assuming that some of these other budgets are underspending or trending at less, or if it's just taking simply into account the fact that that account in particular doesn't have a trend. It gets like these one-time big expenses. So I have to double check and see how that's calculating behind the scenes. But yeah, essentially, yes, it's freeing up money for
somewhere,
whatever other use.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you, Brett. Any other questions on this motion or topic by board members this evening?
What do you do with the old ones? Do they get traded off, or you guys try selling them, or are they just too outdated, or?
I don't think they have the value that the Max did. To be honest with you, I don't think that you're looking at $60-some thousand worth of opportunity. Granted, there's a lot more of them, so maybe the number's bigger than I think, but the plan, so to speak, at this point was to say, okay, for right now, we're gonna just get these new devices here, and since we have enough of the current ones and everybody's functioning and there's no like deadline that we have to give them back or anything, we'll just simply use them so that we're not like killing ourselves to get them out in case they don't come till September or October. Because at that point, it's harder to switch them out because the students are back, teachers are using them. They're gonna have Windows 11 on them, so they're gonna have a little bit of a learning curve. So that, again, we can kind of roll that out nice and slow. And then once everybody's done and successful and we have kiosks set up, they'll probably have to bring to you guys a proposal of how they want to dispose of all those computers. Whether they physically sell them to somebody like that in the assets. The guy at HP Financial Services said he'd be interested in them. I get phone calls all the time from almost every state in the union to buy used technology, so there are plenty of folks doing it. It's just a question of what they'll be worth. So, and I don't think they're in terrible shape. They're just getting a little older, a little slower, and some of the programs, like I said, that we use, CAD and stuff, that it's bugged now. It's not.
Is that kind of the general every 4 years, or?
Yeah, the ones we bought are having like probably twice the RAM that these ones do. They're a little nicer, so you may get 5 years out of the next one. But that's the benefit of doing the lease as a basically lease to own it, so that you can get to the finish line at the end of the 4 years and make a decision at that point of, do we want to try to squeak another year out, or don't we? If you do a fair market value lease, you're obligated to give it back. That's pretty much what's set up. Or you gotta buy them out and you're gonna probably pay more than you would in terms of today's dollars, so.
Thank you, Chad. Go ahead, Nubs.
Not a question, but just a comment, when we do sell the old ones, make sure we get the money up front. Because a few years ago, remember, we sold a bunch, and then we had, take them to small claims court in order to get the money, you know, so don't trust that these guys are gonna pay you once they got the units.
Luckily, our staff were all good for it. We got paid up front on max, so we're real good. But, no, and like I said, somebody after Sample and I wanted to bring you what the proposal is. I don't know if they want to try to sell 700 of those devices internally, or if they're going to do it, you know, with a buyback company, or what they'll want to do. So, you guys can explore that at that point.
Great. Thank you, Nubs. Any other board members have questions on this motion or topic? Hearing none, let's call for the vote on this motion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Anyone opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda is the process for the superintendent search.
I need to take this issue again.
We put this on the agenda so we can discuss as a board how we'd like to proceed for searching for the next superintendent for Merrill Area Public Schools. There was a topic summary sheet provided by Eddie. I guess it went through a couple things, specifically showcased if you would do things through a search firm versus independently through the district and the Human Resources Office, so to speak. And then it also did highlight in the past a timeline that was utilized by and provided from an outside firm back in December of 2012, just to give you some ideas of how that would lay out, or what we could possibly be looking at, not only from a cost standpoint if we hired a search firm, or second of all, the scheduling or schedule of events or timeline based on that in the past. So I would open it to discussion, but where I would lead that to begin with, I think we need to have the discussion focused to begin. Should we be hiring a search firm? And if so, should we narrow down that list? Or second of all, is there a way to handle that internally that someone would suggest on the board and we would go through that? Linda?
I guess, what does it all entail for us to do it internally? I mean, are we capable of doing that in-house without having to spend $8,000 to $15,000 to outsource? I mean, we do it for regular, like, teachers, administrator positions, so why wouldn't we be able to do it also for superintendent? I don't know how that all works, but, we do currently do that, we post postings.
And I can let Eddie or John speak to that. I think the only thing that I found when I was doing some research on that would be, normally we post on WeCan, and when you have a search firm, some of the search firms, if you looked at the addresses, their mailing addresses and that aren't all from the state. Maybe we would want to stay in state with WASB or Don Stevens and Associates as a couple examples, but some of them cast a net throughout the United States versus, or the Midwest, versus just something that people with an administrative license for a superintendent will see on weekend. But other than that, I do not remember why the decision was made in the past. I was not on the board, and going into 2012 to know why it was done one way one time and not the other. I was.
Oh, no, I'm good. I
And
just wanted, to- I mean, if,
if
maybe
Betty
why
or
couldn't we just
John
give it a
want to
shot?
speak to that, I don't have the full answer.
Just.
I mean, there's a posting. Posting is already there.
I guess that's I'm sorry.
No, you're
But
fine.
why are we're talking about this now when we already posted it? Didn't we already start the process?
Yes, the process is started.
Have we had any applicants?
I have not asked recently. The answer is yes, I don't know how many.
Okay, so, I mean, why are we, don't we want to look at who we got applied first and then decide if we want to go to use a firm? I mean, to me, we already started the process. This should have been done 3 weeks ago, or decide how we wanted to move forward.
It's been my, and I guess what I've had for experience is the sooner you can put that out there, the more people that will have that opportunity to apply. State convention, correct me if I'm wrong, on the superintendent side of things, we were told within the next 2 years, out of the 400 and some districts, 100, 140, 150 would be retiring or moving on. So to get in front of something that's no different than any other position, you try to do the best you can to get that posted as soon as possible. The main difference here is the fact that that person is hired and evaluated by the 9 of us as a board. So historically, at that point, we do review that and utilize our human resources department and their systems in place as far as what has been done. But certainly, any suggestions will be taken. And if you think that's out of order, I can respect that, but we certainly needed to get that posted as soon as we had the information from my experience. But I don't know there's a right or wrong answer with that. But I can see what you're saying in regards to the wanting to know on the search firm or not. I did see other hands up. I'm not sure who was next.
I'm good, Kevin, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Kendra, did you have something to add as well?
Yes, so, okay, we posted on weekend, are there any other sites that somebody that would have an administrative license that we can post on for free? And have we done that, or are we just dependent on weekend?
For free?
Well, I don't know what the cost is, or, I mean, but are there other sites, like like I was just looking up a nonprofit, Wisconsin School Leadership Center, or?
The Wisconsin School Leadership Center does a lot of postings for both consultants and individual school districts. There are even schools in California who are posting on here right now, just because Canada schools are so thin. And some are looking for virtual teachers, virtual administrators, virtual whatever, so they're really casting a broad net. The cost is not cheap. It's like, I want to say $650 a week or every 2 weeks, something like that. It's not inexpensive. You know, when you go with search service, that's one of the things I think that's like included in that big number package that scares everybody. So those recruiting expenses are not cheap. But yeah,
But we're only posting on a weekly basis anyway.
we have only posted on the weekend right now, to my understanding.
But on a weekly, for
Week to week.
week to week. Okay. So potentially it could be just $650.
Yeah, to add, and it would be nice to have a deadline or how long you want to post it, because a lot of people to know what their timeline is, and, you know, I think one of the things that comes up that the search service provides is a huge piece of it is the confidentiality to the board and an unbiased process. So, for example, right now, you know, there's several people who can see it, and I personally would not have been in, because I don't want to know the names right now, but like, you know, the challenge that happens is when somebody finds out, immediately what happens is people feel because they take up all the dirt on that individual, so they can find out whether or not they're good for my district. And, you know, the shame of it is that people, you know, operate on what they hear, not necessarily what is known, and so I've seen it where candidates will get ruined before they even get to you to be interviewed. Unfortunately, and it may be true, it may not be true, but that's one of the benefits of the search service is that they do a very effective job of keeping the candidate pool quiet and secure until you guys as a board have a chance to access it in its pure form, like assessing the situation for yourselves from an unbiased standpoint. So again, I don't know what that's worth to you, but in the last district I was in, they tried to run it internally, and long story short, it was one of the names was leaked. It spread to the community like wildfire, and the individual came in for the community listening session, and she had already called when she left to the individual running it and said, "Don't worry, they don't have to." They were still in closed session deliberating. They said they don't have to make it because I'm not going to accept it. It was the people who came to the meeting treated the candidates so terribly based on rumors they were hearing. Again, you know, super qualified individual, had a lot of good things to offer, and basically it sent the board to start the whole process over. So you gotta think about how you want to handle that, and you know who's going to be involved in the decision-making process. Those folks who do the search services will have community meetings. They will have some form of a prioritization understanding of what you're looking for, you know, and that's a huge help in the process. But chances are that you'll want an outside entity to do that, just because of the nature of the position. It is your top highest, you know, theoretically most important position in the district that steers the ship. So it should be worth investing in if you hold it accountable once you hire it and determine what the outcomes are that you're looking for.
Anything else, Kendra? Maria?
So I hear what you said, and I hear what we're talking about, throwing a bigger net out, you know, if we go with somebody else other than, you know, just posting this on weekend. But help me understand, because I'm confused. So you talked about the leaking of the names, and that, I totally get that. But help me understand how that would happen. So right now, if somebody, say it's somebody internal, or external, it could be as well, submits the application on weekend, okay, who sees that here?
You have me, Amber, John, and then the question is who else would it get discussed with the cabinet that we put on it, and if so, when does it get locked down before then? You know, but it only takes one. Like I said, I haven't looked at it on purpose because I don't want to know.
Right, but then, okay,
You know.
because I haven't done a superintendent search before, so I'm not pretending to know anything other than asking these questions and educating myself. So we have this timeline from 2012, how this was apparently done. And it was, you know, post the vacancy, set the deadline for applications, selection of candidates to interview, initial interviews, final interviews. So how have you folks typically seen this done? The selection of candidates to interview, who's selecting that? HR?
I was going to say none of us have seen it done because it's rarely done by anyone in the district.
Right,
It's
and that's what I
usually
would be
done by the
confused about.
consultant. So
Because
I don't have, like, I can't tell you, oh yeah, we've done this 10 times before, I've done this 10 times before. The only time I had seen it done internally was in the last district I was in. The individual who was the interim superintendent ran it, and it was, you know, that individual went through several lengthy meetings with the board to establish, like, who are you looking for? What qualities should they have? What do you hope to achieve in the next 3 to 5 years? Like, because the person who was the intern knew a ton of people, knew a lot of potentially great candidates. But if you don't know what you're looking for and what you're trying to achieve, that makes it much more difficult to find the right fit. But those people also, like I said, know a lot of people. Some of them are currently teaching classes. Some of them are, have been in the game for 30, 40 years, 50 years in some cases. They just know everybody, and they know the past, the history, the places they've been, the places they wish they had been, and everything in between. So there's just a lot you're missing out on, I think, if you don't. But I totally understand, like, from a community standpoint, and say, like, oh my God, you spent 10, 15 grand trying to find a superintendent. Couldn't you do that yourself? Absolutely. We can post it. We can put a close date on it. You guys would want to give me what questions you want, or, I'll scrap some up somehow. But these people who are coming to do this position have doctorates. They're, like, incredibly good interviewers, right? Like, we've done a lot of this. They're very good at it. You don't just want to ask them any old question. You want to be strategic, and you almost need to outthink them and put them on the spot on key things that you want to know. And it's not easy to do that. Like I said, they're very good at interviewing.
And I get all that, and I'm not. Maybe I'm just not very bright, and I'm oversimplifying. So I would think that the board sees the resumes or the applications or whatever that come in, and then we decide who to interview. And it stays within the board as a closed session matter, whatnot. And I understand what you're saying, and the fanciness, the sophistication that you're talking about. There's employers that their goal, sometimes for continuity's sake, is to promote from within. And I think that this board needs to establish, based on the resumes that we've gotten or perhaps not gotten, how we want to view what our philosophy is, at least start discussing that piece, but also to see who we have as potential applicants. And I'm sorry, I'm just talking this through right now. It just makes sense to me as somebody who's interviewed and done interviews. I don't want to make this more costly or more complicated than it needs to be. With that said, I understand the importance of hiring a superintendent for a district, and that critical role. I get that. But I guess those are my
I
thoughts.
don't want you to think I'm swaying either. What
No,
you
I
guys
don't.
need to
I
do
don't.
is up to you.
No, we asked you. I'm
Yeah.
just talking.
If you want to do, I'll revisit what we just did with Mr. Schultz, right? We hired Mr. Schultz, we transferred Mr. Schultz from one building to another, because there were a number of strategic internal advantages to that. So if you guys as a board have your eyes on an internal candidate, then probably spending all that money, $10, $15, whatever $1,000, when you think you might have what you're looking for internally, then it's probably not a great use of money. And you should look at how you want to handle that internally and go from there.
And the other piece I can speak to, and I know everybody's probably sick of hearing me say, well, at NTC, like Nubs loves to hear me say, well, Nubs was right. At NTC, that's exactly how we ran it. It was more of an internal search, and there was very limited folks. We actually just had the officers on the board, right, wrong, or otherwise, do that interview process. And I'm not saying I want to do that. And then they made a recommendation to the board. So I guess what I'm saying with that, it's not unheard of that you do it that way.
DC Everest, I believe, did not hire a consultant, is that correct?
Correct. They went internally
Yep.
with 2 candidates and made their selection.
Right. And Chris Gilmore was also on the NTC board at the same time that he did this board.
In some districts, Stevens Point didn't even have an interview. They had a superintendent and a deputy superintendent, and they appointed the deputy superintendent because that's what that role is. It acts as a predecessor to the superintendent.
Anything else, Maria?
No, I'm done, thank you.
All right. And Linda, followed by Nubs.
I actually would like to see the applicants that we've already have gotten in, in a special board meeting, see what we're getting, and if what we got, we like what we see, go from there. If not, then venture elsewhere, but I wouldn't mind seeing what's already come in. And I don't know if that's okay or not, but, I mean, if they're internal, people that have applied, it wouldn't hurt to check it out, I guess. And I don't know if that's appropriate or not, but, I don't know why we wouldn't want to give somebody who's internally a shot at it as well. That's just my thoughts, but I wouldn't mind seeing what we already have for candidates. That's my 2 cents for the day, but, I mean, it would save money and time, possibly. That's it. Thank you.
We got Nubs and Jacqueline.
I was just gonna say, I was on the board when we hired Dr. Sample. And you should do one of two things, in my opinion, but, I won't be here, so you guys decide. If you're gonna decide that you're gonna take a good look in-house, as a board, look at in-house, okay? If you're gonna decide that you wanna get all applicants, then I would advise you to hire Dr. Stevens' group and because he will do the search outside, and then he will also, you won't have a superintendent by July 1st. He would also come in as an acting, and that's gonna cost you some money. So, but if you wanna go beyond in-house, that's the way I would do it.
Thanks, Nubs. Jacqueline?
Was there a deadline to apply? I don't remember what the posting was.
So originally it was out for a week, which should have been last Friday, and I was asked, and I said, we're meeting this week, 2 weeks seems to be more appropriate for something of this level. So I believe it was extended second week until this Friday, is that correct, Eddie?
I think so. John got it.
With Friday, with Amber, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
The posting goes until this Friday. Linda, did you have something you'd like to add if you want to come up?
I just wanted to put a plug in that most often when you're posting for superintendent positions, the majority of those get posted on the WSLC site. Hardly any are ever posted on weekend. So if you're looking to garner as many applicants as possible, I think that should be, you just need to know that. It should be part of your consideration.
Yeah,
That's the one.
That's what we're talking about?
That is where most of them, I just asked Megan to look, and I think there are only like 14 listed on WeCan, because WeCan is used for many other positions, but typically not a lot of superintendent positions are posted on here.
So that was the thing you were asking about, for the 650 or whatever. Thank you.
Go ahead, Brett.
I'd agree with Nubs that we need to decide our lane. We need to decide it fairly quickly. If we looked at the timeline that when Dr. Sample was hired, that was from a December through I forgot what it was, but it was quite a few months, and we don't have that much time.
And that was even pre-Dr. Sample, that timeline.
Right, but I'm saying when Dr. Sample was hired, that timeline leading up to his offer was December through whatever it was.
I think mine was more April, May, it was different circumstances.
Right.
I was acting and then went through a couple-month process.
So, I think if it's a special meeting, however, that has to be worked out to have that in the closed session discussion or whatever it needs to be. If it needs to be open, so be it. Have the discussion of internal or external and make that decision as a board. And then I'd agree that if it's an external search, I think hiring a firm is more adequate, because they're gonna know all the ins and outs like that. If it's internal, well, it's kind of defeats the purpose, that we don't need to do that, so. Marie and I are sharing.
I know, I was gonna say.
So, that's it.
Anything else? Anyone else have other questions or discussion points on this?
Well, do we need to make a decision tonight then? I mean, I guess that's what I feel like we need to do.
I think it would be appropriate to do so, and I guess I would be looking, can we get a consensus to have a special board meeting next week for this?
To discuss the process? To discuss or to?
To discuss the lane, and then determine, based on that lane, meaning where are we looking as a board to search, and then determine the how to. If we already have that answer tonight, which I don't know that I've heard a consensus or majority, then we should figure that out amongst ourselves now.
I don't necessarily see it as, I'd like to see who's applied as well, but I don't necessarily see that as fair to do a closed session meeting, look at who we have, and then be like, oh, we're gonna.
Right.
It's kind of a slap in the face to whoever maybe has applied already.
Right.
So I see it more as pick our lane and then follow up with a review of who has applied or extend it out to the, to a firm or whichever path we go down, rather than have a meeting, look at who we have and then decide, are we gonna stay internal or are we gonna select one of these? I feel it's just a little muddy. So I personally look at it as set a meeting in the near future, decide our lane, and then proceed from there. I don't know if that needs to be done in closed session to have an open, candid conversation about what we want to do internally or externally, or if it's an open session thing, or if that's you need to talk to Boardman Clark. I don't know the
Well,
answer
his
on that.
names or information, personal information is not being shared, it can be open.
Yeah,
Process.
I guess just my thought right now is that I would be in favor of doing the internal lane initially, decide that tonight, set a closed session meeting, look at what we have for resumes, and go from there. I don't have a problem making that decision myself tonight.
I'd agree with that.
I would agree.
I agree too.
Can we prefer that in a motion, or can that just be work direction from the board?
I think that would be
Okay.
just direction
All
for a
right.
special meeting, right?
That's what we will work on then together, unless someone is strongly opposed and would like to make their case, we will set up a special board meeting then for next week.
Can we do it right on, don't we have a meeting Monday?
Yeah.
Can we add it right to Monday's meeting? I mean, it's up to you guys,
No,
but
that's what I was
we're
just
here
looking-
anyways.
I was just looking at it, I'm like, okay.
I'd like to come back another night.
That's quite an agenda next Monday, then. It's quite an agenda already.
Full organizational meeting, do we want to add that on there? Can we add that on there?
Those normally go fairly
Those don't
quickly.
take very long.
Right.
It's coming.
Doesn't take long. I think that's a good idea to do it on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll add that then on Monday's
Here's
agenda.
a clarifying question to that. Who brings forward?
I was just gonna say the same thing.
Who brings forward who's applied? Is that something that you would bring forward, or Eddie would bring forward? Okay.
Eddie doesn't want to see him.
Or we can.
Or Amber can print it
Can you just
off
give
and
us your
then-
login and then?
Amber,
Yeah,
do I
just give
go
us
to
the
you?
computer, we'll take care
No,
of
it
it.
would go directly to you.
Okay.
Well, what we do with staff is we give them a login real quick and give them access to the postings, and then yes, you can log in.
Print off, I don't know how it works here, like, do you get a resume? I'm assuming.
It's all in there as an attachment, so you
Okay.
literally could get.
You can see like all the
You can
files.
set it up so that you can see it. If you won't print it, we'll literally give you access to it. else they can send you a link to the actual site so we can, and even when, you know, a number of these places, they do like regular postings, not for superintendent in WSLC or something, they'll usually say go apply on weekend because that's where districts keep their HR data / applicant history / materials. When you do the search service, they all keep it, and that also prevents it, and so it's becoming public record. So in your guys' case, it is public record because you're doing it as a board, so we would want to funnel them through weekend, even though that's not a common practice, so that we have records of what's going on and where it is and all that kind of fun stuff.
Anything you need clarified on that, Tammy? Okay. Okay.
I just got, no, if we go, because that has to be closed session, right? Is it gonna be, I'm not, you know, because we could end up switching officers and is it gonna be, you know, does the, I'm just saying, say Kendra's president, is it gonna be awkward that, you know, do you still run the meeting yet until the end of the night? I'm just.
It would change.
That officer would run that rest of the meeting
Okay.
from that point forward.
I'm not saying it's happening, first time, so I'm just asking.
For a second for that.
No, I'm just,
Okay.
because I'm just saying,
We're
I
not,
didn't know how it
ahead
went.
on the agenda, but,
All right.
all right.
So then is it safe to say, if I'm understanding correctly, that we would get online access to weekend, to the night of you, right, and the night of you fall through it and getting it, correct? For the night of that meeting. And then if you guys had access, I can show up just to show you how to get into it. But you guys would be kind of on your own and close to be able to go through like if we want and.
Do we need 9 access?
No, I was just gonna say, yeah.
Can we just put one on?
Just give one
I'm
person.
saying if you want to try to do some reading before you come here.
I feel like it should all be done in a
Yes.
closed
No,
session.
I do too.
And then
Yeah.
that we all see it at the same time.
Yeah, and then you won't have the issue, you're talking
You won't have
about, like,
people,
Googling people.
All it takes is a minute when people Google.
Well.
You don't need any documentation for that.
I know, but I just think that.
I'd say one access key.
No.
And we will, you get one access key and then we'll hook up to both of these that night. And you'll be here? No, you won't. Is it, if we want to print something, can we?
I'll be here for the first part, but we can provide
We'll
assistance.
figure out how we're gonna make it so you can do what you.
Then you're leaving us on our own, John.
I can explain that.
Oh. You leave Tammy with
That we
us.
can just use it hooked up to your printers?
Well,
Figure that out. I
and
don't know,
IT
maybe
guy
we're gonna
be here?
access the printer or whatever, but-
we don't have a code, you guys use codes, right? Yeah.
That's just one more layer of somebody, right?
I can print
We'll
it.
need somebody from HR or Tammy.
And then you can shred it, leave it, shred it, or whatever you want to do.
The main thing is too, that we learned the hard way.
I was getting kind of.
Any candidates that apply have to remain confidential because they have not notified their employer in many cases unless they become a finalist, and then they'll give permission to notify their employer.
Sure.
That's probably the diciest part that we ever have to deal with.
Okay. We have direction on that. Unless there's any other hands up, I think we just covered that last part where the hands came up and clarified that. All right. Moving on the agenda, our next item is the personnel report, hiring, recruitment, resignations, retirements, with a recommended motion. Anyone willing to make that motion this evening? Maria?
Move to approve the attached personnel report contingent upon the satisfaction of the appropriate liquidated damages for resignations if applicable.
Motion by Maria, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Brett. Do we have any discussion, questions, comments, anything on this motion or topic?
There are one change that we made to the sheet, Ms. Skutak pointed out to me. We have two individuals with very similar names. I apologize. There's an individual listed on the transfer section. It says Shelby Christensen. it should be Sarah Christian. And that was just a typo. So whether we pull it and do it next time, or we replace it tonight, doesn't matter to me, but it's just a typo.
I'm making a friendly amendment to the
Yeah.
motion, noting the name change from Shelby Christensen to Sarah Christian.
Yes.
You're all right with that, Brett?
Yep.
Excellent.
And she's at Washington too.
Yep.
Kendra, do you have a point of clarification?
I just have a question, and I don't know if this is, I don't know. So the two on here that would be sharing roles, do their duties increase?
I'm sorry, where are you looking at?
Can I say names? I don't.
When you're talking split buildings? is that
Yes.
When you say sharing
Yeah.
roles?
Yeah, split buildings, does that like increase?
They will be
So-
considered 1.0
1.0
FTEs, just different
Yeah.
days at different buildings or half days?
No additional students though, like no additional grading, all of that stuff?
Some people may have additional grading depending on the class sizes of the buildings that they're in, but like, for example, they will not be considered as to be, what do you call it, overload, or they would not have a prep period or two preps.
They would have that time allotted to
They would have
them?
the prep time, they have windshield time, if they're going between buildings. So for example, if you go between buildings, typically you end up with a prep plus windshield time. So, yeah, it's inefficient to do those.
Mhm.
But
I mean, I
they do
understand,
get the time.
yeah, I understand, I just was curious as to, okay.
We can count the travel time as work time, we don't count travel time as prep time, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all.
Thank you. Additional questions or discussion on the motion or this topic? Hearing none, all those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say nay. Do we have any abstentions this evening? Motion carries. Next on our agenda is the consent agenda. I'll ask at this time if anyone would like anything pulled tonight from the consent agenda. Not seeing any hands up, I would ask if someone is willing to make that motion this evening, please. Brett?
I move to approve consent agenda items A through D, which includes minutes of March 16th, 2022, March 30th, 2022, April 5th, 2022, and April 11th, 2022 meetings. Second reading and approval of policy 5722, school-sponsored publications and productions, claim vouchers and receipts totaling $3,197,392.59, and donations totaling $1,936.65.
Motion by Brett. Do we have a second? Second by Chad. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Do we have any abstentions? Maria? All
Abstain from the March 16 minutes.
right, thank you, Maria. Ron?
I will abstain from the March, can't read my own writing,
March 30th.
30th and April 11th.
All right, Linda?
And I abstain from a portion of the April 5th meeting.
Thank you. Motion carries as noted with those abstentions, Tammy. Items for future meetings. One of the things we're looking at as a group yet is to review the policy committee meeting frequency or the workload on that particular committee. Do we have other items as a group that we would like to discuss going to committee or as the board of a whole at this time? Otherwise, we certainly can update myself, any chairs for committees or Dr. Sample, or the combination thereof. Just a reminder that Thursday is a regular scheduled radio community scan portion. It's on 8:15 in the morning on Blue Jay 730 radio. We do have some future meetings to remind people of. The special board meeting for the organizational meeting is on, that's Monday, correct, not Wednesday? April 25th at 5:30 here in the boardroom. Safety Committee next meets on Monday, May 2nd, 12:30 PM in the boardroom. Facility Committee meets on Wednesday, May 4th, at 3:30 in the boardroom. Finance Human Resources Committee on Wednesday, May 4th at 4:30 PM in the boardroom. Our Bridges Virtual Academy Governance Board next meets on Thursday, May 5th at 12:45 PM virtually. Our Head Start Policy Council meeting is on Tuesday, May 10th, 5:30 PM, Pine River School for Young Learners. Our CTP, or Curriculum Technology Pupil Services Committee, next meets on Wednesday, May 11th at 4:30 PM in the boardroom. Our regular scheduled board meeting for May is Wednesday, May 18th, 5:30 PM in the boardroom. Next, we have a contemplated motion to adjourn into executive closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes under section 19.85(1)(c), considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility for any deliberating or negotiation of the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. For NF, considering financial, medical, social, or personal histories or disciplinary data of specific persons, preliminary consideration of specific personnel problems, or the investigation of charges against specific persons, except where paren B applies, which if discussed in public would be likely to have a substantial adverse effect upon the reputation of any person referred to in such histories or data or involved in such problems or investigations. Paren G, conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved, and 118.125 for the purpose of considering student early college credit and Start Now applications that may involve discussions of confidential student records, and to discuss other matters involving student records and personal histories that, discussed in public, would likely have a substantial adverse effect on the reputation of persons discussed. The purpose of the closed session is to review the list of support staff receiving a letter of assignment and/or intent, as well as teaching staff who will be receiving a contract for the 2022-2023 school year and their respective eligibility for movement on the corresponding compensation schedule for 2022-2023 under section 19.85(1)(f) for the purpose of discussing and considering requests for reimbursement of attorney fees related to an investigation of employee conduct which may include the social and personal history of the employee and confidential information about students under Wisconsin statute 118.125, and which, if discussed in public, will likely have a substantial adverse effect on the reputation of the individuals discussed. Consideration of issuance of notice, preliminary consideration of non-renewal to a BVA teacher affected by reductions for economic reasons, and to consider and act upon parental requests for student opt-out of state assessments, including the potential for a closed session to review the specifics applicable to the affected students if the discussion of such an open session will be likely to have an adverse effect upon the reputation of such students pursuant to section 19.85(1)(f) of Wisconsin statutes. Any such closed session shall be immediately followed by reconvening an open session for further consideration, ultimately action upon the parental request. Do I have that motion this evening? So moved by Kendra, second by Brett. Do I have a roll call on that, please, Tammy?
Maria Volpe. Aye. Brett Waller.
Aye.
Linda Yingling.
Aye.
Nubs Ashbeck.
Aye.
Chad Krieger.
Aye.
Ron Liberty.
Aye.
Kendra Osnes.
Aye.
Jacqueline Bremler.
Aye.
Kevin Blake.
Aye. Wow. 5 minutes.